talk regarding the PPP, which is also known for Payroll Protection Program. And regarding the PPP, so I want most of our viewers to understand that the PPP loan is a loan first with a provision in the contract that can allow for some or all of the loan to be forgiven. So as long as you follow the guidelines and you go ahead and submit your necessary supporting documents and the necessary information, there is you can have the loan forgiven. But that's first and foremost. It's not automatically forgiven. It's not something that you got the money and now you don't have to pay it back. Repayment is going to start pretty soon. I think sometime in September that repayment is going to start. So be sure to start putting together all those supporting documents to have that loan forgiven. So I want to talk about some of what you need to do in order to have that loan forgiven. So let's dive right in. The first thing is the Flexibility Act just passed, so it changed a lot of the amounts and regulations and the stipulations that what the PPP loan actually requires in order for it to be forgiven. So the first step is going to be that it was extended from using the money for 8 weeks to 24 weeks. So that's going to allow for businesses that have been unable to open to go ahead and start using the money once they are able to open. You can use it in 8 weeks, but you have 24 weeks or up until December 31st in order to use all of the money. The second thing is the second provision. Prior to this, it was 75% for payroll, and the rest could be used for mortgage interest, rent, utilities, home-based office, and typical expenses such as that. But 75% had to be used for that. However, that changed. So now that's going to be a 60%. So 60%, I guess, Rania, you're taking care of the comments because I can't switch back and forth. So if there's any questions, let us know.
Yes, I will completely take care of the comments, so don't worry about it.
All right. So yeah, 60% of your loan needs to be used for payroll. And the remaining 40% could be used for rent, utilities, mortgage interest, like I discussed. So that was one part of the Flexibility Act. A smaller amount was for payroll, and the remaining amount was for rent to help people in that type of problems that they're having there. So one of the issues with the PPP loan that when it first was rolled out was that the staffing requirement, right? So many people are having problems rehiring. Many businesses are having problems rehiring their employees because right now they're receiving, for example, more money on unemployment than they would working for the business. So there are certain requirements now that you can. So you don't have to rehire everybody as long as you can show a business need. In addition to that, if you decide to rehire somebody and you do offer them rehirement, and they deny it, you should get a legal or formal written communication to them of them denying the offer, and then you have to send that to the unemployment office within 30 days. However, you also have to keep a safe environment for your employees. So you can't, if you can't tell your employees, okay, you have to come back to work now because you need to use up that PPP money. And for example, the environment that you're putting your employees in could be harmful to their health or to their families. So as long as it's within reason that you can do that. If you can prove as an employee that yes, I was rehired and it was unsafe and they didn't follow the guidelines issued by Governor Murphy or anyone, or any one of the governors out there. So that's one of the requirements, is that you have to keep a safe environment for your employees. So they're going to compare the number of employees prior to the same period, so from February to June 30th to prior year. So you have to use 2019 to figure out how many employees that you had and compare them to this year, and you got to retain 90% of them. So it can get pretty confusing, right? So obviously, like we're here to help you guys. So if I don't cover exactly everything that needs to be covered, go ahead and just leave a comment. We'll reach out to you and see what we can do to help you. I'm just going to do a high level overview of the remaining requirements that you have to meet. Okay, so employees more than 100,000 are exempt. So under 100,000 is what you have to pay your employees. Okay, um, forgiveness. So after the 24 weeks have passed, correct? So you received the PPP loan. Congratulations, great. You used the money for payroll. You did everything that you had to do. Honestly, that's the easy part, right? So now there's still a lot of guidance, and it's consistently changing. All like every week, there's something new that gets clarified through the SBA. So definitely stay on top of that. But the hard part, honestly, is having the loan forgiven. So you need proper record keeping. So if you're using it on payroll, make sure you have copies of the canceled checks that you paid your employees. Make sure you have copies of the canceled checks that you paid your rent, any utilities that you pay, anything like that. Make sure you keep your records because I'm not sure what they're going to ask for yet, but I'm pretty sure they're going to ask for all of that, in order to provide supporting documents, just like an audit or anything else. So
But son, just real
another.
quickly,
Mhm.
how long before can loans get canceled? Like how long does a loan have to be operating until it gets forgiven?
So it's 8 weeks, right? So you have 8 weeks to use the money and to apply for the forgiveness. The only thing right now is that the forgiveness application was released by the SBA about a couple weeks ago, and then Congress and the Senate passed the Flexibility Act, which changed all those requirements. So from what I've heard is that they're going to try to simplify it, but Ahmed, looking at those, all anything that Congress or the Senate release, especially like the SBA and all that, like everything that comes out, it's gonna be a mess, right? It's never gonna be simplified. It's just gonna continuously be more complex. Right now, the issue that a lot of people are having is there's a lot of misinformation on the internet because it's all based on the original guidelines, and now all the guidelines have changed. So whether regarding when you're searching, it's really important to look at when the dates of some of this stuff was released, and compare it to what at the time frame of when the Flexibility Act was sent out, because you want to make sure that you're protected and you're doing the best that you can to have majority or all of that loan forgiven. So that's really important to do that. Um, like I said, the hardest part of this is really the forgiveness. The PPP loan, they ask for some supporting documents. They ask for to apply for it, and it's not too late to apply for the PPP loan. So you have up until June 30th to put an application in. So if you haven't put an application in, go ahead and submit an application to the for that, and then really we can help guide you. And really, what I've been telling all of our clients is plan to maximize, right? So basically, what I want all the business owners to do is to go ahead and plan how you're going to spend that money in the next 2 months or 24 weeks, 8 or 24 weeks, so that you're properly spend the money within that time frame, so that you have the best chances of having that loan forgiven because you've done everything what it's supposed to do. And don't wait till the last minute like, hey, oh, I thought this is going to be forgiven. I thought I didn't have to pay this back. So I'm clearing it up now. It's a loan first, and it's a 2-year loan, which they just extended to 5 years with a 1% interest rate. So that's what that is. It's a PPP loan. There's a provision. You can have it forgiven as long as you follow the guidelines. So plan to maximize that forgiveness. Okay. Um, it becomes a little bit more complex for contractors, independent contractors, and owners of single member LLCs, because you're the one owner, you don't have payroll, you receive the PPP loan, and a portion of that can be forgiven. So I did the calculation. It's roughly about 46% of that can be forgiven, and the rest will. So in most cases, with LLC, single member LLC members with no employees, you're probably going to have to pay a small portion. I want to say about 14% of that back to, if you have no employees, you're probably going to have to pay back 14%. But you have 85% of that forgiven as long as you use it correctly. Okay. With independent contractors, it really is on a case-to-case basis. So if you need help with that, we can definitely help you. And we've been doing a lot of consulting and advisory on our end on helping our current customers and people that have received PPP loans on helping them plan to kind of have majority of that forgiven. Is that a question? Or...
No, No, I was just showing people that they can sign up for the consultation link.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, cool. No problem. There's a lot of resources out there, to have this kind of figured out for you. But I want to jump to the PPP loan. Is actually it's a lot more that goes into it, so it'll take us an hour just to go through that. So I want to jump to. I tried to give everybody a high level overview, but let's jump to another loan, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the SBA EIDL loan. So a lot of people that put those loans in which were prior to April 15th, before they officially shut down. Majority of those people have received either offers or they were rejected. Okay. Great news. The EIDL applications, so for the SBA disaster loans, they just opened back up on June 15th. So it's been about 2 days now that that the EIDL applications have been open. So if you haven't applied yet, if the application is not too difficult, you can try applying for it for yourself. If you need help doing it, we can definitely help you or advise you on anything that you need to help apply for that loan. They're supposed to be offering up to $2 million, but honestly the maximum I've seen is 150,000 is what they've been giving, and that is a 30-year loan at a 3.75% interest rate. They also will give you an advance until and if you deny that loan, that advance becomes forgivable. So if it's only up to 10,000 and they're giving you $1,000 per employee. So a lot of business owners were kind of upset the first time around that they didn't make that April 15th deadline, especially when the money ran out. They just reopened it back up. They opened it back up a few weeks ago for agricultural businesses only, but now they opened it up to everybody as of June 15th. So if you haven't, make sure to put that application in as soon as possible. You never know when that money will run out. There's a little bit of an echo on the other one. Hello?
You're fine. There's no echo.
Oh, okay. So, New Jersey EDA. New Jersey EDA is a New Jersey grant available to businesses affected by COVID. That's a straight grant. It's the application. They had applications. They had phase one of the applications, and it was very minimum, like $5 million. They received 30,000 applications in the first hour and shut down immediately. And then the second phase was June 9th. And last I checked was 2 days ago, and that portal was still open. So if your business was affected by COVID, you can apply for a grant, and you'll receive $1,000 up to $10,000, $1,000 per employee for if you've been affected by COVID. So that's a New Jersey grant, not a federal grant. Okay. I think there's some. I think Ahmed, we want to talk a little bit about some stimulus stuff changing up. So we're gonna jump back and forth on some of that. You want to dive right into that?
Yeah, we do. Last week everyone kept asking about the new stimulus check, the second checks that are coming in, and whatnot. And it's all about this bill that's coming in, right? It's called the HEROES Act. So basically, how laws are passed in this country is a bill is proposed, it goes to the House of Congress, and it's appointed to a committee, and the committee revises the bill, looks at it, and then puts it up for vote. It already passed the House, and now it's got to go to the Senate. Once the Senate approves it, the president signs it and it becomes law, or he vetoes it and then it goes back for more revisions. So far, it's in that phase where it's been approved by the House. It's going up to the Senate soon. I believe it's like the 22nd, they said, or 25th. But basically that's how the bill gets passed. The HEROES Act, basically what it includes in it is the new stimulus check. It extends unemployment. So unemployment, the $600 for unemployment for COVID relief was supposed to end sometime in July. This new bill is proposing to end it in January of 2021. So it's going to extend it another 6 months, the extra $600 a week. It also increases SNAP benefits, right? So if you have SNAP and food stamp, in the state of New Jersey, you're going to get an increase in 15% if you qualify based on your income. There's other parts of the bill that are a little iffy, and that's going to be the dispute. There's a $4,000 tax credit on travel expenses. So if you're able to travel with this new stimulus amount that they give you, you're eligible for a tax credit next year for up to $4,000. And you can talk more about that, Bassam, how tax credits work, maybe. But basically, and then another thing in the bill is there's a big additional funding for state and local funding for these stimulus loans and packages. That's the HEROES Act. So hopefully, we'll hear back soon, and hopefully, it gets voted on and gets approved, and then we'll, there'll be steps and guidance forward on as to the second stimulus check. Part of this funding that's coming in through the HEROES Act is also going to the Division of Community Affairs. I mentioned this last week. People were asking about rental help, and they need advice on how to get rental assistance. Put this date down. It's July 6th. July 6th is the day they're going to open the applications for the 6-month rental assistance program. It's completely based on lottery. So as long as you fall within the range of income and amount of people in the family in the household, you enter into a lottery, and then it's just going to be, they're going to run a lottery and see who gets it in the state of New Jersey, and it's 6 months of.
Has that passed?
I'm sorry?
Has that passed?
It's July 6th, the application's open. So you have to submit an application and you enter into the lottery system. It's not pick and choose. It's not based on income because there's just so much going on with people's incomes changing. People are working, now they're getting employment, and it's just like they don't want to base it off of that. I guess it's just free for all. Whoever qualifies and gets the lottery gets it, I guess, as long as you fall within the income brackets. And you guys heard the good news. Monday we started opening, outdoor dining, and Tuesday, starting next Monday, June the 22nd, hair salons, barbershops, what we've been waiting for are going to finally be open. So what are the guidelines? What's required for you to, for these stores and business owners to follow up through to make sure that they're in accordance with the guidelines? I'll start with the most strict, which is hair salons, barbershops, nail salons, massage establishments, tattoo parlors. All these fall in the same category. And the AG, Attorney General's office, issued a requirement saying there will be no walk-ins. No walk-ins are allowed at any of these places. So it all has to be by appointment only. They have to maintain a certain time frame distance between each client and the next to sanitize and clean the counters and disinfect. They have to limit the amount of people that get exposed in the place. They can't have too many people inside the barber shop. They have to have physical barriers established around the reception area. These are some of the requirements. There's a whole list of requirements the AG is requiring that they are in compliance with when they open. Similarly, it goes for restaurants and outdoor dining. The capacity right now that they're limiting it to is 10%. I know for a fact it's a lot more on Main Street, but it's supposed to be 10% of the maximum capacity. They have to keep 6 feet distance. They have to maintain, hand sanitizer, wipes available for all the customers that are sitting outside. Same thing. You have to limit the interaction with the customer service. If you're able to have just cards and dropping off payment methods where there is no hand-to-hand contact, they definitely want that. They also want, again, a physical barrier around the reception area where you go to pay, and all employees have to be wearing masks, especially in dining. They want all employees to be, the employers to provide to their employees face masks. Same thing with non-essential retail. They're going to open June 22nd. The capacity for non-essential retail is up to 50%. And the same thing applies. 6 feet distancing, maintain clean surfaces, physical barriers. I know this is the new reality, and we have to abide by it because there will be some form of enforcement. And they mentioned that people will be penalized per violation up to $1,000. So I don't know how they're going to enforce it, how it's going to be reported, but these are the guidelines that they're issuing right now. Bassam, if you want to follow up.
Yeah, I think a lot of that information is going to be on the state websites too, right? So if anyone's a small business owner, a restaurant, or barbershop, or hair salon, nail salon, I think you can just go onto the state website. You can get a full list of the guidelines that you have to follow in order to make that happen. And it's also to be you want to protect your customers, you want to protect your employees. That's the bottom line. I think if you just use common sense, right, on that front to really protect those people. I want to jump a little bit toward the back to the economic injury disaster loan. I want to walk you guys through the application process very quickly. It is a pretty straightforward process as long as you have all the information needed, such as your total sales, total cost of goods sold, combined expenses, your partner's information and whatnot. After you submit the application, you just have to keep an eye out for several very important emails from the SBA. One is you're going to receive basic communication from them. Some of them are going to say, we really know you need the money, and just keep an eye out, and we're processing. And good news is that brought on independent contractors to help process with these loans to get the money out faster to some people. So the first email to look out for is going to be something that asks you to create a portal, to create an account in the SBA portal. So it's going to come from an email address called disaster customer service at sba.gov, and it's going to ask you to create an account. Once you go ahead and create that account, in that portal, it'll tell you how much you're eligible to receive as a disaster loan from the SBA. You can't request a specific amount unless after you receive that amount, after you receive the money, and then you can appeal it. But for most part, I haven't heard of anyone that's been successful appealing the amount. And then the second email you receive is once they actually review your documents and you verified your identity in the first email, they're going to ask you to log back in and to sign your contract with the SBA. So just a FYI, any amount under $25,000, there is no personal guarantee or collateral that you have to put up for the business. Anything under $250,000, you do not have to put a personal guarantee, but they will use the business as collateral. Okay. You have to use the money for fixed assets, maintaining operations for the business, payroll, rent, mortgage interest, whatever it is. You can pay off some debt for the business and things like that, as long as the debt is not involved with the owner of the business. So it's definitely a good loan to help people get back on track, especially for a few rough months. And a portion of that can be forgivable. There's going to be a provision that's going to allow you to forgive some of that. But it's a 30-year loan. Essentially, it's 3.75% interest rate, and it's not going to affect you whatsoever on the front if you're looking to purchase a car, purchase a home. It's not going to affect your debt to income ratio or anything like that, because it's not you're not personally liable for it. Okay. I don't have the agenda in front of me. What's the?
I have a question about the economic disaster loan. I know that you can also get $1,000 per employee. Can you talk a little bit about that? And can you also, for example, apply for the PPP loan and get the $1,000 in the economic disaster loan?
Hello?
Yes. Did you hear me? We may have lost Sam.
I can't hear you.
Okay.
Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
So Ahmed, do you want to talk a little bit until we figure out what's going on with this time? Do you want to talk a little bit about the student loan forgiveness, if there is any under the CARES Act, under the HEROES Act as well?
Yeah, so under the CARES Act that passed back in April, basically student loan interest payments are, if they're federal loans, they're suspended up until September 30th, where there will be no interest on the loans payments, and there will be no need to be made minimum payments on those loans. This applies to Perkins loans and some other kinds of loans, and they cancel up to $10,000 for some private federal loans. I'm not sure if that's still it's going to be included in this next bill, or they're going to enhance on it. I think depending on how they see the economic outcome. But this student loan forgiveness is automatic. As soon as the CARES Act was passed, it was automatic for all students with loan obligations that their loans and interest was suspended. Yeah.
Thank you, Ahmed.
No problem.
Sam, can you hear me now? Take that.
Hello?
Can you?
I can hear Ahmed, but I can't hear Rania.
Oh, okay, so you can hear me through Instagram. Yeah, so do you hear me now? Yeah, so it's probably your laptop.
Well, I don't have no, it's working through.
What did you ask, Rania? What was the question?
So I was just asking about I know some people apply for the economic disaster loan and they get the $1,000 per employee. So I'm saying, does that disqualify you from also applying to the PPP loan? And how do the two interact? And if you can talk a little bit more about the $1,000 per employee as part of the economic disaster loan, because I think that's a grant. I don't think that's a loan.
I'm gonna repeat the question for him.
Yes.
Do you hear me, Bassam?
Yeah.
So she was asking, how do the two loans, can you apply for the PPP and the New Jersey EIDL loan at the same time, or would you get disqualified from either or? And how does that coincide with the $1,000 grant?
Okay, so so let's start. So you can apply for any one of these loans. They're not, you don't have to specifically apply for one or versus the other. So many people, so you can apply for the EIDL, for the PPP. They're going to ask you if you've applied for the EIDL and how much you've received, because some banks will give you an advance onto your EIDL loan. But I mean, it depends on the timing, right? The timing of when you applied for the PPP or the EIDL. Some people have applied for EIDL and didn't apply for PPP. Some people vice versa. So it's really important to understand the timing of when you receive the money and what status of the application you're on. If you haven't done anything, this is the time, because I'm not sure how much more time you're gonna have. EIDL just opened back up. I don't know how long that's going to be open. The EDA is still open. The NJ grant money is still open. The PPP is still available right now. So from what I've heard, there's still a lot of money out there. So, and there's a lot of businesses that told today, give us a call, and had no idea that there's even any stimulus or anything in general available to them. So if you're a small business owner, and you're unsure, make an appointment, schedule a phone call or something, and we'll help you figure out what you qualify for. I know we know the programs and what loans are available and how they're being assessed and how much you can receive from each program. So I'll help guide you into what makes the most sense and where you receive the most stimulus that will benefit you. Some people want, some clients don't want a loan, and they make it clear, hey, I don't want a loan, I just want the grants, and I'm fine. Some people want, like, they don't care about the grants, they want the loan because the loan is going to help them continue operations for their business. So it's tough to answer just the question, but you can apply for any one of the loans, but each one serves a separate purpose. So understanding what you need the money for and letting us know what that is, I can help guide you whichever way makes most sense.
There was another question, Bassam. Can someone apply for an SBI loan for their business and still apply for unemployment?
So I guess it's a question regarding, if you're a business owner and you apply for unemployment and ask for an SBA loan, so you're a business owner at this sense, right? So as a business owner, they extended the unemployment benefits with the CARES Act to independent contractors. So you're able to apply for unemployment for that certain time frame. So you can then apply for an SBA loan. The SBA loan, it could take, some people have just received application statuses now, and they've applied in March, in April. So that time frame, what are you going to do? You can collect unemployment during that time, and just because you receive the SBA loan doesn't mean that you have to stop. You have to stop collecting unemployment. The SBA money is to help your business operate. So if you can afford, if you can afford to remove yourself off of the unemployment, and that there's business coming in, and you're going back to work normally, then you should get off of the unemployment. And vice versa. If you're receiving the PPP and now you want that PPP to be forgiven, then you need to come off of the unemployment and start paying yourself through the payroll. So there's not a lot of guidance on it, right? So what I'm telling you is based off of what I see is actually where you're not going to get actually in trouble. It's kind of more of the conservative route. So I would definitely that's the way I'm advising everybody, because I don't want to advise somebody to do something and then it becomes inaccurate or you get in trouble. And so my understanding of it is that collect unemployment during the time that you're unemployed and that there's no work coming in for your business, so you're no longer working. If you want, you can still apply for the SBA loan. You can still apply for the PPP loan. If one gets approved, one doesn't get approved, depending on that certain situation for that small business, then I can help tell you, okay, drop the unemployment, do this because this amount is going to be more, and you're going to receive a forgiveness, which is going to benefit you. And really, the PPP loan, in my opinion, was actually put out to push people off of the unemployment system, right? So it's to bring employees back to work. So if you want to go back to work and you want to start get at least 2 months of free, I like to call it free labor for 2 months, because they're essentially paying you to bring your employees back to work. And as long as you use the money to pay your employees, that is one of the main reasons that they'll forgive you your loan. So or one of the main provisions. So I would say go ahead and do that, because I think that's a greater benefit. And obviously, we know there's people that don't pay everyone on the books. And,
yeah, but also this is all subject to like change because of this new bill that's coming in. That's also going to either increase funds or decrease amount of funds, and they could probably amend the PPP loans and their obligations and whatnot. So you're just going to have to stay up to date.
Yeah, for sure. So even I think I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, is the HEROES Act, is it going to be more geared toward individuals or some businesses as well?
There's going to be an extra $1 trillion, I believe, for small business loans. And then there's an extra $1 trillion for infrastructure rebuilding. And then the remaining $1 trillion is going to be, which is total of $3 trillion. $1 trillion is going to be for like everything we talked about, the new stimulus package, the new, SNAP benefits increase, all that stuff, and unemployment.
Have you guys heard of the Main Street program?
The what? Sorry?
The Main Street program?
Main Street, no.
No, there's a Main Street program coming out from the government and the SBA, and it's really like a loan to help bigger businesses. So if you are in need to buy, they're still finalizing the details with a lot of banks, but Main Street meaning like local, not Patterson or anything, but like Main Street meaning like Main Street, Central America, Middle America, and things like that. So the Main Street program is going to actually give you guys some access to funds, low interest rates, things like that. So it's definitely a good time if you want to expand your business and you need some loans.
Are great with them. I mean, they're very low interest rate with like 10 months of no payments due. Some of these programs.
Yeah, 12 months no payment on EIDL. And the PPP, you don't have to make a payment, I believe, for it's like 90 days. And so each loan has a specific provision on when that needs to be paid back. But regardless, even if you did the PPP program, and you don't have any employees, but you applied for a PPP based on your owner compensation, you can receive a good amount of money and only pay a 1% interest rate for the next 5 years. I mean, that's that's probably as best as to zero as you're going to get.
It's really cheap, especially to keep your business operating and running.
Yeah, for sure. I think did we get any comments on the Facebook or any questions?
We got a question from Azam Hashim. He's asking, how many months should I use it for?
How many months should you use it? So if you received the PPP loan, it was 8 weeks. They just extended it with the Flexibility Act to 24 weeks. So, or December 31st, whichever is greater. So, it depends when you receive the money. It should, I think the 24 weeks will cover, because we're still in the middle of the year. I think July 18th or something like that is when you start hitting the 24 week mark. So you have 24 weeks to use the money. It really depends also how much of that is going to be used for payroll and how much is going to be used for operating expenses. So you can narrow that down too.
So I have a follow-up question. Can you hear me, Bassam?
Yes? I hear you.
Okay. So the question is about the specific PPP loan. So if you, for example, are going to extend it to 24 weeks, what's the process? Is it automatic or do you have to apply for it? And two, what if, for example, there's a change of employees within that 24 weeks? So, for example, like you go from, let's say, 5 employees to 4 employees. How do you go about addressing that?
Okay, so the first question was regarding how do you extend it to a 24-week? So if you applied for the PPP program before June 6th, before the Flexibility Act was passed, you can either choose to stick to 8 weeks or 24 weeks. If you choose the 24 weeks, it would automatically, once you put your forgiveness, once you pull in your forgiveness, you can say I used it over 24 weeks through your forgiveness application. Okay. The number of employees. So you hired an employee, they've quit, and you hired somebody else. There's no, right? Is that what the question is?
It's 2 parts. So either you had an employee, they quit, and then you had someone else, or the opposite where you just an employee left and that's it, and you're just gonna go down to, like, for example, 1 less employee.
So there are some exemptions that they allowed for. One being so it's okay to do that, right? Because if you rehire them and replace them, all you're essentially doing is replacing one employee with another employee. Your number of employees stays the same. No big deal, right? You don't have to keep the same employees. You just have to keep the same number of employees and rehire rehire employees, whatever it is. So the number is really what's important, not the people. But the second part of the question is if they leave. If they leave, what's the purpose that they're leaving? Did they just quit? Did you fire them? If they quit and you can provide supporting documents to say, well, this person just left, then you have a form, you have something that filled out by them to say that, okay, you're leaving. Thank you. We appreciate you working for us, and this is the date that you're leaving, and you made attempts to rehire for that position. Then you can put that through the exemption, the forgiveness, and that they'll exempt that number of employee as part of your forgiveness. And also, I want to talk about, just because they maybe they don't forgive 100% of your loan, that doesn't mean they're not going to forgive 80 or 90% of your loan. So it's not like, hey, you're forgiven or you're not forgiven for anything. It's going to be prorated based on the number of employees, the pay, and all that good stuff. Because you also can't decrease an employee's pay for under 75%. So you can give them a 25% pay cut. Anything more than that actually exempts that portion of your PPP forgiveness. So like I mentioned, if you can't rehire your full employees, just keep track that you've tried. Keep track that you've made attempts. Show that you've made attempts. If you can't use the full amount for payroll, then they won't. It's not saying, hey, okay, you don't use the 60%. Now you owe 60%. What if you use 50% for payroll? They'll forgive 50%. You just have to pay back the portion, that 10%. Maybe you don't use. Maybe some people don't have high rent. Maybe some people work out of home. Maybe some people don't have an office, but they have utilities and whatnot. Just a portion of it. So it's not like completely not forgivable if you don't use the money completely for all that stuff. It's
always beneficial to just follow through with good record keeping.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it to even give it a try.
And I said this earlier, and I'm going to say it again. Plan to maximize your forgiveness, right? So by proper planning on when you receive the PPP loan and putting specific expenses or budgets in line for the next 8 weeks or 24 weeks, will essentially just be on autopilot. And when that time comes that you fill out the application, you have all your supporting documents, you spent all the money that you needed to spend it on, and you put it all together, you send it over to the SBA, and your loan will be forgiven. But don't expect the loan to be forgiven if you show up on the last day like, oh, well, the money's sitting in my account, I haven't used it for anything, or used it or misused the funds for something else. So understand what you can use the money for. That hasn't changed, whether through the Flexibility Act or not. The only thing that's changed is the percentages and the amount that you can use for it. But what you can use the money for hasn't changed. So go ahead and pay your employees, pay your rent, utilities, and all that stuff. So definitely plan so this way you can have majority of that not need to be repaid.
And just a follow-up question about all of this. So you were saying make sure you have your supporting documents in place. Could you give everyone kind of like a quick overview of what those supporting documents look like?
Yeah. So, for example, pretty straightforward. When you pay your rent, get a canceled check. Go into your bank account, download your canceled checks, keep it that it was cashed and it was paid for, and that's perfectly fine. If you really want to go above and beyond, ask your landlord. Have a copy of your lease available. You should have one anyway, but if you don't, make sure you have a copy of your lease, and also ask your landlord to send you a receipt that you made your payment. Okay. And for payroll, you can use your payroll processor reports. So if you're using ADP or Paychex or whatever it is, try to make sure, or if you're paying them direct deposit, that would automatically come out of your bank account. But you can also run those reports from any one of those payroll platforms. The issue, I guess, sometimes I would think that you may have an issue is that some people like to write handwritten checks, and sometimes some of the employees don't cash them. Maybe that could be an issue. So I would recommend maybe putting them on direct deposit or even for a short. Some people don't like to use in direct deposit, but maybe on the short term, putting them on direct deposit to have your payroll, to have proof that the payroll was paid, and you can generate those reports and you have everything completely taken care of there. So that's that. Utilities, PSE&G bills, cable bills. Print out your cable bill, show a canceled payment, show an automatic withdrawal out of your bank account, paying a bill, staple them together, keep track of that, and save them. And this is obviously this is being conservative, because what more can you possibly do to show them that you paid your rent besides a lease and a canceled check and a receipt from your landlord? So if you don't panic if you can't get one of those things, but try to get all three. Try to do a three-way match whenever you do any of that. That's basically what that means when I say supporting documents. Well, what else? Cable, rent, utilities, payroll, mortgage interest. So again, it comes out directly out of your bank account. You can call your lender, or you can log onto you can get a report how much your mortgage interest was, and you can include it. So like I mentioned, the hard part of this is having the loan forgiven. The PPP loans are very tough for us to get some PPP loans for our clients, and eventually it opened up through the second stimulus that passed. So that was hard to begin with. The forgiveness part, I definitely recommend that you contact us for the forgiveness part, because that's where it becomes tricky. No business is going to be alike. Everyone uses money for different situations, and there's always something that our business does a little bit differently, that they don't have the proper records, or maybe one of their employees does something different. So give us a call. I can help you plan for that, and get you the application kind of set up when the application becomes available. I know the Treasury Secretary mentioned that they're going to try to create like an online system for people to put those forgivenesses in. But I mean, haven't seen it. I just seen the paper application. So
yeah. Okay.
Do you
have any other questions, Ryan?
Those are the main questions I have. If anyone else has any questions, yes.
I received some questions actually from people earlier regarding PPP that I think we can talk about, which was when you receive the PPP funds and the economic industry disaster loan funds, how do you classify that on your books? Because are you is it income? Are you going to be taxed on it, or is it a loan that you can repay, or what happens when that loan becomes forgiven? Does that count as income? Right? So the accounting rule is that whenever you receive a loan, it's a loan. It goes onto your balance sheet. You can deduct the interest, but you can't deduct the loan, because as the loan gets repaid, and it's not going to be included in income because you didn't sell anything, so it's not taxable income for that year. Okay. However, now that PPP loan becomes forgiven. Okay. And what happens to that loan? So the payroll expenses for that loan are actually not deductible. And well, that's the guidance we have right now. They're still talking about it, so yeah, it could change. So if that changes, I'll let you guys know. Give us a call. But for the most part, if what they decided was that, okay, that money is not going to be considered as income, as a loan. Now it's forgiven. We're not going to include it in income, but all the expenses that you expensed
are going to be income.
Are not going to be expenses, right? Because you can't double dip. You can't say, "Oh, I had no," you're just going to have a ton of expenses, then a payroll expenses, and you didn't have that as income. So no income for the PPP loan, no expenses. So
interesting.
Yeah, and you can't double dip.
We're still like in a gray area with all these new loans that are coming out.
Yeah, and like I said, there's talk about maybe making it be included as income and whatnot. So that's the guidance that I can give you as of now on that, or include it as income and then include the expenses as a net effect of 0. So you want to include it as income and include your expenses, and to inflate, you're inflating the numbers. The end goal is still the same. I wouldn't do that, but you can do that.
Okay, let's see. I don't see any other questions.
Yes, I don't think we're getting any questions right now, but we want to really emphasize that we want you all to take advantage of these series. So if you have any questions, please make sure to send it to info@paccusa.org. Our third and final installment of our series will be taking place next Tuesday, the 23rd. And we really would like to make sure that this, in fact, is a chance for you to get all your questions answered. So if you can send us your questions in advance, that would be very much appreciated. Again, at the email that's listed below, info@paccusa.org. So that way we make sure that we have a chance to answer all your questions. And as always, you can post your questions on the comments. And then I've also included the link. We are also, as part of this series, providing free consultation appointments for specific needs. You just have to sign up at the link. It's very, very easy to do. And if you have any questions, you can always call us at 973-253-6145, and we can help you through that process. So with that, Ahmad and Bassam, do you guys have any closing words?
Just to wrap it up, just to remind everyone that there are regulations and guidelines that have to be put in place for all these new businesses that are opening. Please, please, please just follow up, Google what are the guidelines for your business and what category you fall under, because you don't want to be penalized and fined for violating these guidelines. Like I said, I looked up the AG's statute, and it says they can penalize up to 6 months imprisonment and $1,000 per fine for every violation. And it depends on how serious the violation is, but our community is doing good. We're all healthy. We want the numbers to keep going down, so just please do your part. And send in your questions, and hopefully next session, we'll be able to answer all of them. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ahmad. And just to echo Ahmad's words, we have to kind of keep in mind the social responsibility of this also. We know that don't only do it just for the fine, keep in mind the safety of your clients, the safety of your employees, and the safety of everyone in our community. So please make sure that you are following these guidelines. As PAC, we've been very strict about a lot of guidelines because we're trying to make sure that our community and our community's health is put first. So there are a lot of different guidelines, such as, for example, putting out glass, making sure that your employees all have masks, being 6 feet apart no matter what. So there's a lot of different guidelines. You can definitely visit on the website. If you have any specific questions, we're more than happy to answer. Like we said, again, please make sure you send it to the email. But again, I just want to emphasize that this is our social responsibility to keep this going. There's a lot of talk of a second spike, and we really want to try to avoid that as much as possible. And the way we can do that is by practicing our social responsibility, continue practicing social distancing, and following all the guidelines that are outlined. With that, Bassam, do you have any final words?
I can't really.
Wait.
No, I can't. Final words?
Yes, final words. Ahmad, you're on mute.
Okay. So yeah, again, thank you, Rania. Thank you, Ahmed, for coming on. I'm sure you mentioned it, but we are available to help everybody that needs any help. You can reach out to us with our phone numbers, and this gets a lot of this stuff is there's a lot of uncertainty around it. So if you do feel confused, just know you're not the only one. As professionals, we're confused. You know what I mean? So we're trying our best to kind of guide everybody to the right direction, and we're all human. We all make mistakes. And if you have, if you feel like you need another person to look at something for you, if you feel like someone's giving you misinformation, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're trying to misguide you, but there's a lot of bad or misguided information out there. So if you do need help, do your research, get a second opinion, and we're here to help you guys. Thank you again, everybody, for signing on, and it was great doing this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bassam, and thank you, Ahmed. And again, just as a reminder, Bassam did say this earlier, but remember that if you do not need these services, please do not apply for them. This is meant for those who need them so that we can make sure that everybody who needs them can take full advantage of it. And again, we are here as a resource for you. So if you have any questions, once again, please make sure to email it to us. And again, sign up for that consultation appointment if you need it. With that, thank you very much, Bassam. Thank you very much, Ahmad. And please tune in for our last and third installment on Tuesday, January 23rd at 5 p.m. on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you very much. Have a great night and stay safe.
Thank you, guys. Take care.